Hello and welcome to this channel. Like, subscribe, share, and view our other videos if you like this one. In this video, we will examine a local rideshare and delivery law. Drivers and advocates want to know if it's good or bad and why. Apps like Uber, DoorDash, and Instacart are forced by local municipalities to pay minimum guarantees in various states and cities around the United States, providing better pay to their drivers in those places than they would otherwise. California is one of those states that passed a law that's referred to as Proposition 22, or Prop 22, back in 2020 by vote of the public, and it's the only one that has been paid for by the companies. Prop 22 would not exist if not for another law known as California Assembly Bill 5, also known as AB5, which was passed by Democrats the prior year, setting into motion a battle against not only drivers, but independent contractors too. The law outlawed hundreds of types of freelancers from working for the public, as the second factor of AB5, referred to as the B prong in its ABC test, restricts workers and their employers, contractors, and clients from having the same course of business, resulting in an exodus of freelancers from California since 2020. Uber and Lyft make a perfect example, since their drivers are independent contractors, and Uber Lyft's course of business is technically rideshare and delivery, even though the argument is they are tech companies, which is also spot on, although AB5 proponents don't acknowledge it, which is a red flag for political misclassification, especially after Uber gave their Californian drivers the ability to set their own rates. But that still wasn't good enough. Another significant note is that the ABC test, which could also become a threat by Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Connecticut state labor laws, is originally from a 1935 Maine unemployment compensation law, and the half of the B prong that would have retained a lot of the Californian independent contractors was omitted by the author of AB5. One final mentionable detail is that the Federal Protect the Right to Organize Act, also known as the PRO Act, and the Workers' Flexibility in Small Business Protection Act are bills to amend the National Labor Relations Act and the United States Department of Labor Fair Labor Standards Act, independent contractor classification tests, respectively, with the ABC test. Since their bills couldn't be passed over the years, Democrats forced a new rule or interpretation of the FLSA in 2024 that is similar to the B prong, even after independent contractors submitted testimonies and testified online, in person, in order to contest the rulemaking by the Biden administration. So Prop 22 is good in that Californian rideshare and delivery drivers maintained independent contractor status. Otherwise, employees would see what happens in New York City on a permanent lockout basis rather than just first come, first served in order to be able to work. It isn't sustainable to pay an unlimited number of workers to idly sit by not making any money to pay them with. So the companies have to limit the amount of drivers when they're paid for the time they're waiting between rides. Prop 22 is bad in that the minimum guarantees are the worst in the nation, since they're nearly as low as a minimum wage employee. Not surprising, considering the hundreds of millions the companies spent and therefore have to recoup on the proposition. The faster you drive, the less you make when it should be constant or more, like taxi, which is one way Uber and Lyft profit off drivers. Prop 22 is 120% times minimum wage for engaged time between acceptance and completion of a drive. So at 32 cents per minute and 35 cents per mile, drivers only gross 67 cents per mile at 1 mile per minute, traveling 60 miles per hour, when the IRS claims it costs an average driver a minimum of 67 cents per mile in 2024. Drivers are paying to deliver in rideshare rather than making a net profit, which is company misclassification per the USDOL, IRS, and state laws for independent contractors. All in all, Prop 22 could be better, but forcing all apps to have the same pay defeats the purpose of competition in the free market at the end of the day, and adding employee benefits makes it harder, if not impossible, for competitors to enter a market as seen in Washington, California, Massachusetts, and New York City, since startups face so many initial costs. Passing a national law for pay guarantees would have to be bipartisan, and it would take a lot of calling on politicians' votes for it. We could organize and hope for that. Or we could launch an app to compete with giants that are really just a few people with exploitive business plans. Drivers everywhere could have guarantees that are based on inflation, like Prop 22, and also correlate with taxi rates for fair pay. Gig workers should ideally pocket a minimum of 150% times minimum wage for engaged working time, and 200% at 3 minutes per mile, plus the IRS mileage rate while driving. So if you want gig workers to have better pay, then support our movement by donating and joining us at agorahive.com to help us launch a better app for fair pay that's also fair to the customer. We deserve better, and we can do anything they can do better. We'll see you in the Hive.